tonight, December 6th, 2018. Let's go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance by Johan Moore. Will the audience please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we do have a quorum, full quorum tonight to make any decisions. Let's go ahead and do an approval for the minutes of November 1st, 2018 and November 15th, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Chris.
Second.
Second by Lauren. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those have been approved. Okay, any conflicts of interest for tonight's meeting? All right, no. Let's go ahead and get started. Item 5.1, which is a conditional use approval for a manufacturing building. Bray?
Can't see. Okay. All right, so this is a conditional use for manufacturing building. Property is located on 118th South and about 7300 West. You can see where it is here on the map. This is property that was recently approved for annexation. The annexation will be effective January 1st. So if you make a decision tonight, you will be approving it subject to the annexation on January 1st. So the property as part of the annexation will be zone TM. That's our technology manufacturing zone that we wrote specifically for this area. And again, you guys saw this at the last meeting. So not much has changed, but we'll go over it. This is the site, so north is on your right side here. This is 118th. Large building, parking in the front, landscaping along the road. And then again, the building is the majority of the site there. We have the building elevations. And then one of the biggest things that we talked about last time was, again, the landscaping. So they are asking to reduce the landscaping. The ordinance requires 15%, but allows you to approve a reduction in that. They are at about 11.5% landscaping of the site, which we found is very typical and still more than most other cities would require for an industrial manufacturing site. What you guys had specifically asked for was to really beef up the landscaping along 118th, along the road. So this was their original landscape plan, and that's what you have in your packet. We have been working with them this week, and they have made some changes along 118th specifically. Let me show it to you like this. So the one on the top is the original plan. We asked them to add about, I think it was 12 or 13 more trees along 118th. Our spacing, our ordinance requires a street tree every 30 feet along the street. They are still kind of clustering the trees, so we can talk about if you are concerned about that, would like to see them spread out a little more. They also made them larger trees. They changed the species on some of them that we asked. And then also added larger ones along the side. Over here you can see. So those are the biggest changes to the plan. Since you saw it last, is really the landscaping has been, we've been working on that quite a bit the last couple weeks. I think, any other questions you have for me? The applicant, the engineers are here if you have questions for them on the landscaping or the site. And then again, you'd be approving this subject to the annexation. You will also be approving it again, if you approve it, on January 3rd, once it's technically annexed. You're going to approve it twice. Any questions?
Thank you for putting both of these up, though.
Yeah,
the original and the revised. Okay, any questions for Brian?
I guess the only question, and I can ask you, is item 6 on the recommendations. It talks about install curb, gutter, sidewalk, street lights, and park strip on all public streets. And it says this may include a fee in lieu for the sidewalk on 118.
Yeah.
I know we talked about potentially having
pathway, right?
like a paved path
That's what they're
versus
showing,
a sidewalk.
It's like this meandering asphalt trail instead of a sidewalk.
Do we need to rephrase that item when the time comes, is, I guess, my better question.
You could say that, you could say, maybe change it to sidewalk or other, I don't know, yeah, or just say asphalt path if that's, yeah. I mean, I think that's what we've decided we're gonna do, so if you wanna change it to
Yeah,
that, you can.
that's the only thing I was wondering is,
Yeah.
at least with that, would that need to be adjusted?
We'd probably do 8 feet.
We have
is what usually do.
we have a standard in our engineering
Yeah.
for the width of I think it's 8 or 10
I think it's
feet,
8 or 10, yeah.
something like that. So I don't think you need to specify the width, just the engineering standard.
Okay. So just the material of potential asphalt path as well on 118, or instead of. Okay, that was my only question with that list.
And then I will also mention on number 4, it talks about including 24 additional trees. They have already added all those trees to the plan. So you don't need to add that condition, you can just say, you know, the revised plan as submitted, I guess. Because they've already added all those trees that we asked them to.
Okay. Okay, anything else? All right, is the applicant here tonight? All right, if you wouldn't mind coming up and stating your name for the record.
I am Jeremy Hanson. I'm with Dominion Engineering.
I'm Darren Perks with Dominion Engineering as well.
You? All right, any additional comments you would like to come?
I just comment on the just the clustering of the trees. This particular client, the corners are going to be big focal points for sales, and they were really concerned about the view from the roads. So that's why they requested, you know, they agreed to the number of trees, but maybe more of clustering to allow those site views especially for the retail portion, it's huge. And so we were trying to accomplish the tree amounts, but still allow for a little bit of aisleways to be able to see it a little more clearly on those corners.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that explanation.
I have one question, but I'm not sure, because usually it comes back later if it's for you or the city, but is there plans for signage on 118?
They didn't want to put any sign out there, they just wanted to sign on the building.
Yeah, they've actually said they're not
That
gonna
was
have
my
one
only
even signed.
question. I just wanted to know, because
If
that's
they do
sort of,
sign, they'd have to come back and
because the clustering, I think, makes more sense if the sign is on the building only.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about now, is just a sign on the building.
Okay, that was my only question.
All right, any questions for the applicant? All right, looks like we're good for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion or a motion on this item?
I guess I have one question, which is with the, along 118, I don't know, were they planning any park benches or anything along that area as well? I don't know if it's needed, but my assumption with 300-something employees is that there will be a time where they walk out and sit down there and walk around and whatnot.
That right-of-way is going to be city property, and so I think if we do some of that, I think it'd be more of a linear something. I don't know that we want to direct them to put that out there. I think they'll do their own.
Yeah, it's more of a curiosity, I guess.
I think it's too early to decide that. I don't think
Okay.
we thought that.
Well, I saw that, and you're looking at a fee in lieu, so it's obvious for later on for it to be continuous with the path and the plans. It may not go in immediately anyway.
And I think the fee in lieu will be more for street improvements. I think they'll likely do all the
Okay.
landscaping.
Okay,
Well, I know that was one thing that we talked about the last meeting too, was the benches.
yeah, we didn't mention the last time, just sort of having a place as you walk that or run it and where you can stop, I think. It was some of the thoughts as well, so.
They do have kind of, I think, isn't it like a patio right here in the front of the building? Kind of outside the cafeteria there, so that's why they've got trees there, and that's kind of for the employees there in the front.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about if you ever go up to Thanksgiving Point, the offices, you will see every single day, you will see people out of the office is walking. And that's sort of what my thought was on that, so.
This building will back on to Midas Creek, and we're planning a large park facility behind this building, so.
Okay.
118th won't be as,
Midas Creek is right.
inviting, where Midas Creek, I think we're gonna probably see that as more of a draw.
I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I think the spacing is good, especially given the retail aspect there. I think that, I appreciate them making the effort to beef up that landscape, and I think it looks good.
So do I. Okay, all right. Anyone willing to make a motion?
Motion to approve with 2 changes. Item 4, changing it where it says this should include 24 additional trees. Just take that out and the plan that we have to go along with that. And then item, what was it, 6, to say install curb, gutter, sidewalk, or asphalt path, streetlights, and park strips on all public streets. This may include a fee in lieu for the sidewalk or asphalt path on 118 South.
Okay. Second. All right, motion by Chris, a second by Andrea. Andrea?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
And Brody?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. All right, item 5.2, a conditional use permit approval for Redemption Sports Bar and Grill. Bryn?
All right, we changed our alcohol ordinance. So here's your sports bar. This is down this is in the Mountain Point Retail Center. We approved the Holiday Oil just north of this a few months ago. So again, this is Academy Parkway at Mountain View Corridor. Here's the site here. So again, Academy Parkway on this side. The Holiday Oil would be just kind of just north of this off the screen. This is the site. The site does drop off a little bit off the road here, and you'll kind of see that on the landscaping plan. So they're kind of planning on having it more face the road, and the parking's in the back. This is what the building looks like. We have been working with them on the elevations, so they have met the requirement for 60% brick. So all of the darker brick that you see here is brick. And then they have a lot of glass. This is their landscaping plan. So again, you can see there's kind of some retaining here where it drops off of Academy Parkway. And that's what I have. They also have a PowerPoint, I think, too, that they can go over with you. So unless you have questions for me.
Questions? All right, is the applicant here tonight? Hey, if you wouldn't mind coming up and stating your name for the record.
My name is Jared Hall. I'm the architect for the project. So, as I said, the project is located over on Academy Drive, and it's basically 150th South and Mountain View Corridor. Is there a remote? Oh, perfect. This is the landscape plan. We've been working to try and make sure we get all of the different landscape pieces where they need to be, and I think we've all come to a good resolution on this. So these are the same elevations you saw. With all of the dark stuff would be structural Atlas brick, and then lots of glass so you get good views in and out of the facility. Then these are the other 2 elevations, and then we just have a couple of 3D images of what the building would look like. And that's it.
Thank you. All right, any questions for the applicant?
What's the square footage of the building?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What's the square footage of the building?
It's about 3,000 square foot on the main level.
Okay. Can I see the road layouts? Brent, is there a picture with just the 2 road layouts on this one where it's located?
The roads around this.
Okay. So Academy Parkway's here. Is that the, and then Maradona Drive?
And then there's, like I said, this is the private road, and then the Holiday is just kind of right above this.
And then also kind of where our access point is, there's another to-be-developed private road.
So where would you receive deliveries?
So you can see where it says trash enclosure to the bottom.
Uh-huh.
We would receive deliveries
Back
right in
there.
front of that, which goes right into the kitchen space.
Perfect.
So with this, I mean, and I'm sure we'll be fine with trees. So the pretty much the view from the front, is that going to be along Academy where they'll see the front of the building? If they're driving down Academy, they'll be able to see the front of your building?
So Academy would actually be the back. So if you go one more slide forward, that's the back.
That's what they'll see from
Yeah, that would be
Academy.
the view from
Okay.
Academy.
Receiving on the right there, yeah.
I like that they designed it all the way around the whole building. It's just not front-loaded.
I like it.
I don't have any more questions.
I don't have any concerns or anything.
Thank you. Okay, any more discussion on this item?
Nope.
Or a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 5.2 for a conditional use permit with staff's recommendations, 14 recommendations.
Okay, a motion by Brody,
I'll second.
second by Lauren.
Andrea.
All right, Andrea,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
and Brody.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. All right. On to our legislative items, which both of these will be on for a public hearing. Item 6.1, it's a request text change to section 10-5-16 D2C 12 of the Land Development Code requiring the signature of the mayor in a subdivision plat. I guess Michael's taken over.
Hiding in the corner, a little hard to see. So this is a quick update to our text. We had identified that there was maybe a lack of clarity as far as recognizing that the Planning Commission is the land use authority of the city, and it's under your authority that we are approving final plats. There was a statement in our city code that said that the mayor's signature was essentially representing the city council in granting final approval on plats, and that's incorrect. Again, it is your authority. There is one case in which the council does act as the final approval authority, and that's when we're dealing with vacating public rights of way within a subdivision plat, and that process will still be kept. It's still a part of the current code. That's not being amended. What is being proposed by the city council, and the staff is executing this, is that we'll be removing the mayor's signature line as a block on the plat, and instead we'll be adding the planning director, kind of signifying again that everything is in order. We will also still have all the other signatures that are on the plat right now. The city attorney will check it for zoning compliance, public health, engineering. Of course, all those standards will still be in place, but so we're just proposing that one amendment be made. Again, this is a legislative item. You'll be making a recommendation on this to the city council. So any other questions on this application? Okay.
Looks straightforward.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so before I go ahead and open it up for a public hearing, I'm gonna read this notice. The purpose of public comment is to allow citizens to address items on the agenda. Citizens requesting to address the commission will be asked to complete a written comment form and present it to Wendy Thorpe, Deputy Recorder. In general, the chair will allow an individual 3 minutes to address the commission. A spokesperson recognized as representing a group in attendance may be allowed up to 5 minutes. And this policy also applies to all public hearings. Oh, with that, we will go ahead and open just this item up for a public hearing. With that, we will go ahead and close the public hearing. Okay, any discussion on this?
So I just have a question. I don't know, this would probably be more for the planning department, but how common, I guess, is this to their knowledge that they would replace the mayor's signature with the planning director's signature?
Sorry, say that again, I apologize.
Oh, just like how common is it for the change that we're proposing from changing the mayor's signature to the planning director?
I don't know. We did look at other city procedures, but it wasn't an exhaustive requirement. Again, this is consistent with state code. It says very specifically that the land use authority, which by city code is designated to be the planning commission.
Yeah.
It's also somewhat of a, just helps the administrative process as we're working to execute the approval that you've given as a body. Sometimes if we have to wait for the mayor to be available, it can kind of slow things up. So it's probably somewhat unusual, but it is consistent with state and city code.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Michael, who is the planning director? Would that be you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And no, this was not my idea or request.
I know. That's not what I was alluding to. Yeah, I'm just thinking if there's any, unseen issues in the future.
So this is a recommendation to city council. So whoever makes a motion, just make sure you put that you recommend whatever to city council.
I can make a recommendation. I recommend approval to the City Council of the proposed ordinance amendment as shown in attachment A of file number Z2018-24. And that's it.
Okay, a motion by Chris.
I'll make a motion.
Are you seconding?
Second, sorry,
Okay.
yes.
Second by Brody. All right, Brody,
Yes.
Lauren, Chris,
Yes.
and Andrea.
Yes.
Okay, and that goes to city council. All right, on to the last item, which I think everyone is here for. Rezone from R210 residential medium density and R1 agricultural 1 acre to Auto Mall Special District and C2.
All right, I'm gonna start, and then Gordon's really the applicant, so he's gonna say some more things.
Perfect.
So again, this is a rezone, the property, let's get there on the map. Property is currently R210 and A1. The requested, this is 126 South, Mountain View Corridor. And then Main Street ends about here right now, and we'll connect through this property here. So this is the proposed, the future would be, the auto mall would be this entire site, and then the commercial along the frontage. We've been working on the auto mall zone for this area, so we've been talking about this for several months. This is the specific reason you're looking at now is these two pieces of property that we are now working on. Again, this 53 acres here, and then this parcel here, about half of it would be the auto mall, and the other half on the frontage would be commercial. Gordon, I'm gonna let you talk about this part.
All right, so this kind of is a layout of what we anticipate the auto mall looking like. Up along the top here is the Mountain View corridor. It's not really green, but it's black. This is 126 coming along here, and then this is the future Main Street that would be built along this section. You can see the C2 retail that would be there. It's likely as we start getting into it that we may adjust the line a little bit if the retail needs a little bit more, a little bit less as the actual design comes, but we wanted to make sure that the designation was in place, both for the marketing purposes as well as publicity, so everybody knows what's planned here and what's going in. This is a road that would come off of Mountain View Corridor. It'd be a right in, right out. This will not be an overchange. It'll just be tying into the frontage road. So it won't literally tie into the Mountain View Corridor, but it'll tie into the frontage roads that are already in existence. This will tie into the main road that goes through Miller Crossing. This big building used to be the Walmart, which isn't going there, but this is the commercial center on the other side of the channel. The city is planning right now to retain about 5 acres of property that is looking at some kind of park or recreational facility that would be adjacent to the area and come along the channel. This channel, goes from Riverton, will end up going out to U-111 as we look at that. And we have a cute little video, I think, that gives you the development that's come across the street and shows you where. I think we also have a cross-section sheet. We probably should put a little more time in this, but this gives you an idea. This is where the residential housing, there will be a 6-foot wall, 6-foot high precast wall. Then there'll be 18 feet. That will be landscape, trees, and so forth. Then our typical 5-foot sidewalk, 5-foot park strip. Then we have the roadway section. And there's required 20-foot setback for commercial. And then the autumn also gives you an idea of the distance between the two, kind of the separation, some of the mitigation efforts. And then we have the video.
So that's over 110 feet, right? Is that what I'm reading right? Yeah, that's a big gap.
Mm-hmm.
The auto mall, if you're in the retail section, you'll probably have a row of parking or maybe a building right up on the street where you have the auto mall. It'll likely be parking with the building even set back further back if you look at the pictures. So this is kind of the video. There's sound to it, but you're not going to hear it.
Are you going to sing?
I was.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about it. With the music, it becomes
Excellent.
What was the song you were playing?
Pardon?
What was the song?
I don't know. It was whatever the marketing people did.
So you can see the retail there in the front, and then there would be kind of this spine road that would go down the middle.
This road is still anticipated to tie into the retail across the street, but this
Come all the way through.
would be more of like a private road that would be in this, Main Street over there.
So you're saying similar to the road up by Shields and the AutoZone up there?
Yeah. So that kind of gives you the vision. You can kind of see how the dealerships would sit back.
What would be the speed limit on that new Main Street strip? Because I know that's one of the concerns.
I think it's 35 is what it's posted, but I'd have to go out and look at what they're planning out there.
Yeah.
And then just on the west side of the Harriman Main Street, can you go back to the one where you had the 110 feet of separation?
Oh, this thing?
Yeah. So I see the sidewalk on the west side. I'm assuming they're proposing probably some set of trees going to separate between the wall and the actual homes that are located on that
Yeah,
side.
they'll have to do street trees and stuff all down that road.
Yeah. So you're talking about what, 30-foot trees eventually that'll be located on that side?
The city standard is every 30 feet, but we'd look at how that would lay out, and maybe there'd be some staggered in that you'd have
Some on
on
both
both
sides.
sides, because we'd have maybe smaller trees in the park strip and larger trees, because you have 18 feet, you could put a bigger,
Okay.
and other kinds of trees.
Hold on, sorry. We'll open up public hearing in just a moment.
So that will be all part of the design and construction of Main Street.
Okay.
That will all come, that'll all be done later when everything gets.
All right, any other questions?
So this, did you get this?
Yeah, Brent,
Yeah.
I'm confused. Maybe I'm missing something. On the, where it shows we're just dealing with those two properties that are divided on this picture that,
Yeah, this one.
Say that again?
on this picture here, am I missing something why we're not looking at the whole?
Okay, so, yeah, let me explain that real carefully, go back to the, so, these are two parcels the city owns. We're under contract to buy this piece. When we buy that piece, we'll be coming back to you probably in January to rezone the front of this piece, C2, and then the back portion would be the
Out of zone. Yeah.
auto mall zone. So you are going to see that. We're working with an investor we're using their money to buy the property, and so one of our agreements is that we would rezone the property so they can start marketing it, and that's part of what you're seeing here.
What about
Probably
these?
spent a lot of
Well,
time-
it will all eventually be rezoned, but these are the only pieces we have now.
Right.
Okay. And same with these like little 1 acre pieces?
All those little parcels?
So these parcels right here, the road comes down through the middle. We're working with these property owners to purchase the right-of-way right now that has not been purchased. And once we have that, then our intent is to work with the developer to finish building the road all the way up to Main Street. Then the general plan that we changed earlier this year was all this was going to be C2 commercial, or it was just, in the general plan, it just said commercial. You didn't make a designation. The property owner could come back to you for some rezoning at a future date. But this was all general plan commercial. But they'll be doing something separate and different than I think what we're doing here, so. Although it will be commercial. It could be office, could be other kinds of things.
Right, any other questions before I open it up?
Not for now.
Okay, so we will go ahead and open it up for a public hearing. Anyone wishing to make comment, please make sure you fill out the form and then come to the mic and state your name for the record.
Hi there. Name is Clint Underwood, resident of Harriman. Just a couple of questions. I mean, I understand that we're kind of in the preliminary stages here, and I'm just finding out about this very recently. But just simple, who is the they who you're referencing? You could say they will do this. Who is the they?
So are you talking about which part of this? The road?
Well, the auto mall part, the big spectacular no sound presentation that we all saw.
So if you're talking about construction of the road, or you're talking about, because the city will be involved in the construction of the road, they'll be involved in the construction of the auto mall, bringing in the dealerships.
So I'm guessing then that there's going to be city funding monies involved in this?
We'll be using the impact fees generated from this to help fund the road. So they'll be paying for it through their impact fees. Is that what you're asking?
Hopefully generated if you find you don't have people who are occupants yet.
Right, then we don't build the road. So it's basically, they have to bring the money, then we get to build the road. If they don't bring the money, we don't get to build the road. So it's a pretty straightforward transaction kind of thing.
And it's okay if I hurry up and say something. This is for comment only. If you have any questions, please speak to them after the meeting.
We can meet later if you have a question about the finances.
Well, yeah, but that's all fine. I think my question should be public also, though, because these are questions that the residents of Harriman
You may
are
ask the
interested in.
question, but if you want to have the
I
answer.
get that, and that's why I'm
just-
asking the question.
Okay.
Thank you. So Harriman will be partly funding this based on promised monies, which I don't personally agree with. I think that if it's a going enterprise, it should be enabling themselves. Is this zoning consistent with the plan, or are we asking for a major change in the plan here? That's another question. Another question that I have for you, kind of around where we were at with the industrial building which was being built on, I guess it was 118, you know, there was a lot of comments about trees and sidewalks and amenities and nice things. I don't see any of that here, okay? Just because you take a swale which you can't develop anyways and say you're gonna turn that into parkland, that doesn't fit, okay? So, you know, drainage areas are drainage areas governed by state, federal regulations. They're gonna be there whether you turn them into parks or not. I would like to see the town be more consistent in park usage. And finally, if this plan should be approved and consistent with the bar and the building, I'm not seeing much discussion really about signage, consistent signage, non-obtrusive signage, non-lit at night signage, lighting facing downward rather than into the sky, because I don't want to feel like I'm living around a circus tent, okay? So those are a few of my comments. Hopefully they get entered as part of the proceedings, and we'll be talking some more. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, as soon as you're done, just Wendy right there. You're fine.
My name is Tyler Moore. I'm just a resident here, first time in one of these meetings. I think it's interesting to see the ambition of an activity that I think will certainly make someone well off and do well. But as a, you know, just someone who lives here and we have a family, we like to use the parks. See the site, see the sites when when I see something like this, I think it's a great big commercial, you know, great job on a commercial level, but I don't see how it's enriching our community. We could probably do better with the spaces we have, which surprisingly in the last years here in Harriman, they've disappeared quickly. We've done a really good job of packing the city really full of homes, really full of communities that are very tight. I mean, probably not like any community you and I grew up in and enjoyed. It feels like the town has become a large commercial venture, and I think that's too bad. And to see this in the video discourages me that we're very interested in. Maybe we're not, but somehow we're allowing people's private commercial gains to kind of get in the way of quality of life here.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aaron Boswell, B-O-S-W-E-L-L. I moved into Miller Crossing a little over a year ago. I actually live further towards 56 West, so I have to admit I'm not the person who's living right on Main Street or the proposed Main Street that's going to have this right in their backyard or front yard or side yard or whatever. I personally don't have a big problem with commercial. I also knew when I moved into Miller Crossing that I was within about a mile of a soon-to-be freeway within the next 20 years. I kind of accepted that as par for the course. I do have a couple concerns, though, and I'll state them here, and then I want to talk with some people afterwards, whatever. My main concern is light pollution. One of the reasons I moved to Harriman, I was in West Jordan, and I was right across Bangerter Highway from Jordan Landing. And I wasn't there when it was put in, but I've been living with it for the last 10 years. I've also been living with all the extra traffic that has brought on to 72nd South. We were off of 32nd West, and so we saw a lot more additional traffic because of that, and especially with all the changes to Bangerter Highway. My main concern is with light pollution, and then of course with, it looks like this road right here that you're saying is kind of goes to the frontage road on Mountain View Corridor, will be heading into Miller Crossing Boulevard. And I'm very concerned about that. My backyard backs up against that road. I'm from California originally, been up here for 20 years. I'm used to traffic, but I also moved into a pretty much a bedroom community in the back of Beyond Harriman so that I didn't have that coming through. And so I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the amount of traffic going through there, especially when you have, it looks like 6 to 8 dealerships. People do test drives. I really don't want test drives going through my neighborhood. I'm really concerned about that. This was just a brand new concern of mine or a question of mine. I'm looking at all this, but I also looked at the video and it said that there was a proposed TRAX line coming down Main Street. Where? You've got 110 feet. Where is this TRAX line gonna come? Who gets to give up space? Or it's a 2-lane road, you're gonna put that right down the middle. Again, I'm not opposed to any of this. I just would really like to know. In fact, I'm actually pretty okay with a TRAX line coming where my kids can walk to TRAX and head downtown. But I would like to know when you're adding that extra stuff, you're adding noise pollution, you're adding light pollution into a very, while for a lot of people who are from Harriman, is a much smaller community because we're all on 1/8 to 1/4 acre lots, it still is very much a bedroom community, not a high density housing. Add all this right here, it worries me. So again, I'm not opposed to anything, I just would like a lot more information. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Preston Oberg. I am a resident. I'm also a community facilitator for 6 and 7, which is not near this development proposal. But I just wanted to come here today because I noticed, mostly through social media, a lot of comments regarding this. And I wanted to come in and voice my support for the concept. I actually think that an auto mall is a great idea. I think that it would bring in a strong tax base that doesn't cost the city a lot in terms of traffic, which is one of the main concerns that a lot of residents have had for who knows how long. I think when you're talking auto sales, it's quite a big bang for your buck, and I like that concept versus the number of people you're bringing into the city. And overall, I understand that take what I have to say with a grain of salt because I'm not directly backed onto this where I live currently. Obviously, I'm closer to the RSL facilities than I am down by this auto mall, but I just think that, you know, in general, any commercial enterprise that's going to be near residential, it's bound to happen. We are a smaller community that is growing. We're going to have commercial enterprise, so doing it a smart way, and I think this is a smart way, personally. So I just wanted to voice that support.
Thank you.
My name's Glenn Larson, live across Mountain View in the Copper Creek neighborhood there. I had a couple of questions about this. A lot of the residents there don't seem to be really concerned. I think it's great that there's commercial and right off the freeway, or future freeway. Concerns for me would be the light pollution across the Mountain View. Some signs are extremely bright, not quite sure how or what this will do to even yet across the Mountain View. Hopefully nothing huge, but just one concern there. My main concern, or one of my main concerns here, is the track station was originally planned to go along there next to the previously, or the Walmart location. And I'm not seeing any plans at all for the track station anymore. And I haven't heard anything about track station no longer going here. But I hope that we can actually address and have a plan where the track station will be if that's still going forward. And then also making sure that the trail system, the connectivity, a lot of trees along there for going through our neighborhood. We're going to be passing. We'll be passing right through here under Mountain View and going along the Midas Creek Trail. So just make sure if we don't cut it short and really tight with that parking lot right next to the trail. So if we can make sure we keep the trail a little bit nicer, and a little bit wider, natural of an area there. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to make comment tonight? Okay. At this time, we will go ahead and close the public comment. Great. Thoughts, discussion, questions?
So maybe we can talk about a couple of these things that were brought up. Gordon, in particular, you guys are probably best to shed light on the overall picture of what tracks may or may not become, and how we work with the state and UDOT and everything else to establish that as people have questions. Maybe we can just give a little bit of education on that.
So we've been working with the Wasatch Front and the state and UTA to extend the red line into Harriman down here to the town center and ultimately to the Rial's facility. The city has worked with UTA and we've preserved the right-of-way, so this would be a center running facility down through Main Street. And we've been working with them on design and so forth. UTA has been a little bit in disarray over the last few years. It's been difficult to get clear picture from them. They have just started creating a new board. And so as this gets formed, we'll be back in discussions to get the project moving and get more clarity of what's going to happen and so forth. So did that answer your question?
Yes. So Gordon, pretty much our intentions are to have tracks come through. It's just working with the UDOT to actually get it to happen is what we're waiting on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so there was a couple residents that talked about signage and lights.
So in the auto zone that we passed, requires that any lighting, street or on-site lighting, meet the city standard, which requires dark sky, directs it. There's no transient light, can't leave the site. So all those requirements have to be met, and those will have to come back to the planning commission once each one's brought in. Signing on Main Street would end up being monument signs, similar to what you see along 134, I don't know, 6-7 feet high brick with a sign on them. However, on the freeway sign, we would anticipate those signs will be larger, and we'll be working, and again, those are outlined a lot by the dealerships and by the zone that we've created, so we will be bringing each of those back to you at a later date as each of these come in. So I'm not a particularly big fan of the sign out there, but one of the things that they have talked with, as we've talked to the auto manufacturer, that there will be some large signs out on Mountain View corridor.
And then I guess the last question, the trail system, because it looks like it'll be on the north side of this property. Do we know intentions of that? Any information?
So as we've looked at this, there's, let me bring this in. Again, this is an artist's rendition. So it's not rendering, so it's not engineering, it's not accurate to the, so there will be a fairly large trail through here as well as the five acres that we talked about. And down here, we're looking at another 2, maybe 4 acres that we'd have, so a total of 10 acres outside of the channel with the channel going through. There's a bridge already built underneath Mountain View Corridor that would lead to Copper Creek and get you over to Riverton. And again, we've already built the bridge here that will lead up to the Anthem Development, Miller Crossing, and all the way to the high school. So right now, which side of the channel the trails on are parked, Wendy knows that. That's been worked out with our trails. I don't have that information. That would be coming at a later date. So did that answer your question? Or?
I think so.
Let me just, remember, we just reviewed the Auto Mall Special District, which is the zone we wrote specifically for this property. So there is all the details in there about required landscaping, where they can do signage, lighting, what the buildings have to look like. All those details are laid out in the zone. You know, and again, you would see all those details when the actual users came back in.
And thank you. I think it's just good, and I appreciate the help from the city staff and maybe letting us have a bigger picture of what's happening as well. And I know we're specifically looking at the rezone, or not the rezone, but the rezone from R210 to this. And so I know it's specific to that, but I appreciate giving us and the citizens a bigger picture. And I really appreciate the citizens coming out, because sometimes we don't always see everything right away and know everything that a project may affect. And so it helps us to plan a better development and to be able to put different standards on it as we go along. And so I do appreciate that.
What I was going to say too, I also appreciate the residents being willing to speak. I can't speak for everybody, but I do spend time on the social media sites trying to see the concerns, trying to understand what people might be facing. I try to weigh all of those as we look at these. I will say the one I kept hearing a lot is traffic. And looking at this, I do believe that traffic will, if I'm test driving at one of these dealerships, I'm not going to drive through Miller. I really don't think so. I don't think I would approve that if this was going to be the case. I think you're going to ride along Main Street or that artery road and head out Mountain View. When I test drive a car, I want to see how it drives on the freeway. So I don't think the traffic through Miller will be an issue there. And I think as a city, we need some balance. I think we've gotten out of balance with our residential versus commercial, and I think we desperately need commercial, desperately right now. It's not ever fun when it happens in your backyard. I understand that. I'm not far from this. I'm just kitty corner from Miller myself. Always concerned about traffic that's going to add on 126th, but took me 45 minutes to get from Sandy today, so I'm concerned about that. But I think it will. I think adding this rather than more that residential will actually have less impact on traffic than more impact.
Yeah, I agree. I like that we have commercial coming in versus medium density, which would, I think, cause more traffic than what we're proposing here today.
Which would cause more traffic on Miller.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we lost Andrea for a minute. But we can go ahead and make a motion on this.
Do we need to wait for her to get back or no?
You have a quorum, I think. So.
Yeah.
I would just need to.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Well, I actually would have to do it.
Yeah.
I take her place.
Okay.
So.
And this is recommendation to the city council?
Yes.
Yes.
Ready?
Ready.
Oh, Andrea's coming back in. We'll wait 1 second.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the city council approval of the rezone from R210 and A1 to Auto Mall Special District in C2 for item 6.2.
Recommendation by Chris.
I'll second.
Second by Lauren. Okay, Brody.
Yes.
Lauren.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
And Andrea.
Yes.
Okay, that passes to city council. All right, any commission comments on for tonight? Okay, our future meetings, city council will be held next week, Wednesday, December 12th at 7 p.m. And our next planning commission meeting will be on Thursday, January 3rd at 7 p.m. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Lauren,
Second.
and a second by Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.